Thank you all for joining us today and to support this group of founders on the JAMLAB Accelerator Program, Sub-Saharan Africa. We're really excited to share their vision for the future and how they're changing the industry and making an impact in journalism and media in their respective countries, the continent, and the rest of the world. Good afternoon and welcome to the 5th JAMLAB Demo Day. My name is Chapa Shabalala and I'm currently heading up the JAMLAB project here at the Wits Center for Journalism. Demo Day generally marks the end of 6 months for teams on the Accelerator program. And it's where we witness the achievements made by startups throughout this journey. And finally, these teams will form part or join at least our ever-growing alumni family of media organizations changing the media industry on the continent. This year, as in years past, we'll see us sharing a slice of Africa's media startup community. They will take to the virtual stage to share details about how their companies, how they are building their companies rather. And this afternoon, we'll see 5 pitches from this year's JAMLAB Accelerator cohort. So when we began in 2017, we've run about 4 accelerator programs already. And with the 5th one today coming to an end. Over the past 4 years, we've accelerated over 24 teams, of which 13 have been women-led, and a number of the teams have also gained investments immediately after completing this program. And of course, many others, or many of them at least, continue to grow. So I think it was last year, September, October, we started the 5th accelerator program with 7 teams from Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. You can see their logos there on the screen. But today we'll only hear from 5 of the initiatives. Startups on the Accelerator program are at the different stages at the beginning of the program. Some were just concepts on paper, others were at pre-seed stage, others were at the MVP stage. But the common thread through all these teams is that over the past 6 months, they've worked hard to develop and refine their ideas, which will allow them to set their businesses on a path to success. But of course, we don't do all this work ourselves as JAMLAB. We wouldn't be what we are today without the support of our funders and partners. A big thank you goes out to the Swedish International Development Agency, SIDA, through the Child Project for their generous support and for believing in the work that we do on the Accelerator. Another big thank you goes to APSA, who have also supported the Accelerator program over the past 2 years. And then thank you to the Open Society Foundation's program on independent journalism for supporting the knowledge program, but also not forgetting the support we receive from the Wits Center for Journalism and Wits University. So before we get into today's business, I'd like to welcome the Acting Director for the Wits Center for Journalism, Dr. Dinesh Balia, just to say a few words of welcome.
Thank you so much, Tsepo. It's such a pleasure to be able to welcome you all to this demo day. It's my first one, actually, that I'm seeing live. I've seen recordings previously, and I'm so pleased to be able to be part of the showcasing of the work of the JAMLAB project over the last year. We've been through enormous upheaval in the last 2 years, but really this program has been one of those that has kept some stability going, making sure that we can, accelerate. I like the word accelerate because it makes us go faster and leave the bad things behind us, actually. It is such a pleasure to be involved with a project that really is growing, not just technology and innovation on the continent, but also making it accessible and diversifying the space. When we read about things like 13 women-led teams, it's really quite encouraging because this is the kind of work that we need to grow the media innovation space on this continent. I won't take up too much of your time. I just want to say a warm welcome from the Wits Center of Journalism. We are, of course, celebrating 100 years of Wits University this year, and a program like JAMLAB really heightens what it is that we are hoping to achieve in the future, to bring new and exciting things, to continue to innovate, and to set the pace actually for the rest of the continent and for the world, in effect, with the kinds of things that we are proposing and putting forward to people this afternoon. So welcome to everyone, and I hope you have a fantastic afternoon, especially to the demoees, as it were. I wish you all the very best, and let this be the cherry on the top of your year of training with JAMLAB. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. So a bit of housekeeping for today. We have 5 startups that will showcase what they've been working on over the past 6 months. If you like any of these startups and you'd like to get in touch with them, please do drop us a note in the chat or email us at info@jamlab.africa. If you have any questions or comments throughout this session, please make use of the chat box at the bottom of your screen or the Q&A function. and then we'll sort of throw those questions to the various founders as we go along. So that's it from my end. So we're going to get into today's business. First team is led by Bibi Aisha Wadvala and Nonkululeko Gombuli, who are the founders of Health Equity Media Lab, and they will be presenting their new app, their prospective new app called Health. Hailing all the way from South Africa, let's welcome Health Equity Media Lab to the virtual stage.
Hi, I'm Bibi Aisha Wadvala. I met Nonkululeko Gombuli through an Atlantic Fellowship for Health Equity. We had both worked in the journalism and health communication sectors and realized we had a common purpose. Together, we started the Health Equity Media Lab and ideated Health. Health is an app and web-based platform that aims to enable access to health information in vernacular languages in a way that's entertaining and relevant. Access to health information in a language one understands well is a determinant of health that influences health behavior and outcomes. Yet the majority of South Africans are excluded from quality health content due to language barriers. There's a ton of health information online, but making sense of it can be overwhelming, especially in areas with low health literacy. Digital health literacy is now a key focus area in public health. Plain language and relatable content not only improves awareness and information, it also empowers users to take charge of their own health and well-being. In a country with low health literacy, our content will be easy to navigate, relevant, and meaningful. A mix of multimedia, explainers, and gamification will allow for an interactive platform that helps users engage with and make sense of the information. The content we provide will also be actionable. For example, connecting users to services like mental health support groups in a rural area, or connecting users to telemedicine services. The content will be all-encompassing and quite holistic, from prevention of disease to mental health and wellness. The app will require users to register a profile and fill out a survey. Based on their profile and selected interests, an algorithm will suggest content. We plan to make use of artificial intelligence to help users make sense of difficult information. For example, explaining blood test results or scanning a food label to determine the nutritious value. We are targeting an underserved LSM 1 to 7 audience. Our audience segment is a mix of urban and rural populations across South Africa. So, for example, you would have a woman who is the head of a household wanting to make the best health choices for her family, or a young man just wanting to stay fit and free of STIs and HIV. Health is centered on credible and accurate information. South Africa has incredible researchers and medical experts who we'll partner with to ensure our content is both medically and culturally appropriate, but that's also attuned to a decolonial and feminist approach. High data costs present another barrier to accessing information, so it's crucial that Health is zero-rated or has low data costs. Our envisaged partners are MTN or the Vodacom Foundation. The other partners that we've identified are a range of corporate and civil society organizations who share the same goals of reducing South Africa's health burden, improving health outcomes, and motivating more South Africans to get health. In the competitor space, currently Strove, a South African wellness app targeted at corporate employees, is our closest competitor, while civil society and media organizations all offer snippets of what we plan to do in what is quite a fragmented market. Health operates in a complex political, economic, sociological, technological, and legal environment. Public policy changes provide an interesting context and present a number of opportunities. The most notable of these for us is the National Health Insurance Plan, with its promise of universal health coverage and its focus on health promotion. There's also a growing awareness of health as a public good and of good health as a basic human right. It's also worth mentioning that according to ICASA, South Africa's smartphone penetration is just over 90%. South Africans spend an estimated 3 hours on social media and approximately 9 hours on the internet a day. Our solution fills a clear market gap. Health is the first platform of its kind in South Africa. It stands at the intersection of health, social justice, media, and technology. And this is reflected in our business model. Let's talk money. We anticipate that we'll need 2.5 million rand to bring health to market. The bulk of our revenue will come from grant funding, then corporate partnerships will account for 20%, and finally, a tiered paid subscription model will make up the remaining 10%. This tiered model is quite important to us because the idea of equitable access is central to our mission. So it's more equitable to charge those who have more disposable income higher subscription rates than those who earn far less. We plan to use the next 4 months to develop a minimum viable product, then roll out the soft launch in October. Based on feedback from our beta users, we'll further refine the product over November and December and hope to officially launch the app in January 2023. What we're looking for is capital investment in funding, as well as strategic partnerships that can help bring our product to market with partners who share our values. So, in summary, information is a determinant of health, yet most South Africans lack access to reliable health information in their home languages. We want to change this. Our solution is to reach these underserved audiences with concise, simple, meaningful, engaging, and actionable information, and hopefully play some part in improving the behavior and outcomes and health outcomes of South Africans. We hope you can join us.
Thank you so much, Bibi. I'm going to ask you guys just to turn on your cameras. I've got a few questions for you and Nokuthula. And my first one will be, what would you say are the top 3 challenges of operating in this particular sector? Any of you can take it.
Okay. I think that the main challenges, of course, is going to be funding. We know that this is, so there's 2 things. So in terms of wellness apps, it is a hugely growing market. Deloitte published a study recently which showed that it's one of the fastest growing markets in terms of the app sector. But the thing is, these are all targeted at more middle and upper class users. And so in terms of one of the challenges, it would be because of high data costs, it would be, and also access to smartphones, how do we ensure that the lowest markets in these underserved markets are going to be able to effectively utilize our app? In terms of funding, we know that investors want to get a proper return on investment. Right now, the apps which do exist, there is some monetary value to that. If we're saying we're looking at a significant part of the population which are unemployed or at least are earning very low salaries, it's how to ensure that we are able to monetize that effectively. And then I suppose also in terms of it really is, there needs to be a cultural shift in terms of uptake of an app, which again spoke to the first challenge that I mentioned, is because how something which has largely people don't associate, within, if I go to a rural area in the Eastern Cape, and if I have to ask people to start using an app, there definitely needs to be a cultural shift in behavior in terms of someone consistently using that app. So yeah, I would say that those are the top 3 challenges.
And you touched on something that somebody has asked. How do those people in rural areas find out about the platform? How do you plan to reach those people?
Okay. So for us, we mentioned that our partners would be civil society organizations. When we were discussing the idea for this app, we had met with a woman who basically works in the deep rural villages of the Eastern Cape, where she says that people pretty much have no information, and it's not just information, it's helping them make sense of the information as well. And so for us, so it's not just national civil society organizations, but also local grassroots organizations are absolutely important as partners, because we would market the app through these partners, and also we would help them use them, because they are it's whether there's community training groups or advice groups, support groups, we would make use of those partners to teach people how to use the app and how to get the best, the most out of it.
Cool. I've got two more questions. I don't know if Nomtula wants to jump in on any of them. You can just turn on your audio if you're struggling with bandwidth. I know we've got load shedding in South Africa, so that could be the issue. Building a health tech business must have been challenging during this time, especially in a fragmented market. What were some of the aha moments you had during that process? What were the light bulb moments?
Yeah, I can take the question. I can finally hear it because I've tried to log in again. So yes, definitely it's been challenging, but there have also been some amazing opportunities afforded, by the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the sort of knock-on effects. And one of those has been really the realization of the importance of addressing the social determinants of health. We've also seen a lot more spend directed towards health promotion and health management interventions. And I think that's really where we've been able to capitalize on this global awakening, which South Africa obviously has been a part of the importance of addressing not only, disease management and health issues, but also some of the socioeconomic determinants, the non-medical factors that lead to poor health and ill health and an increased health burden. So I would say there have been more opportunities presented than challenges during this time.
Awesome. One final question for you guys. How does the app leverage off the health e-news base, and does the content feed back through to the website as well?
I can let Bibi take that one because of her position, at Health E. But we always envisioned Health E as a potential media partner. Right from the onset, we very clearly recognized that, we're coming in with a very different lens. We're also wanting to focus very specifically on actionable health information as opposed to health news. And media partners were always something that we were going to pursue. So, and Health E happened to be top of mind again because of BB's sort of role within the organization. So we envisage Health E as a collaborator and as a partner in this journey.
Well, BB, are you going to
add to that? Yeah,
So,
I just
ahead.
want to add to that. I think it is quite clear. I mean, it's quite important to make the distinction that there isn't really a conflict of interest in terms of the two organizations, because we're not, offering the same type of product, as Nonkululeko just explained, that we really are focused on information. And while there is a small overlap in the sense that Health E does occasionally do information-based content, the large part of it is covering hard news. And then, again, as Nonkululeko said, we see Health E as a partner, and you spoke about that feedback loop where we feel that the content that Health E produces, especially where we can, go through the archives, can potentially link back to Health E, and the same thing, content that appears on Health can link back to Health E, and Health E can potentially link to Health content as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bibi and Nonkululeko. Really appreciate that. That was brilliant. We're going to move on to our next JAMLAB fellow, Yvonne Mwakalinga, who is the founder of Toto Junction TV, a team representing Tanzania. Welcome to the demo stage, Yvonne.
My name is Yvonne Lusajo Mwakalinga from Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. I'm 26 years old, bachelor degree holder of business administration from Swiss Management Center, University in Switzerland. Currently, I'm a director of Total Junction TV, which is under Browsem Limited Company, which I work with as a company manager. I had a dream of creating children TV, which will have pure African content, so children can edutainment, know their culture, and maintain it for future generation. I produce contents and direct in full production. I'm also in learning progress of graphic designing and updated animation. Hypothesis. Africa has the most amazing story in the world. In all contents and all people involved in shows they started at childhood, but these stories are not written or spoken as much as they're supposed to be. How do other coming generations learn so they can keep it up and live a good deeds and even more? African culture can't be taught at adulthood at school only, as in this world of globalization where Western culture dominates very much. So how do we maintain the African culture and make it exist forever if our children don't learn from the early stage of growth? So our mission is to promote, educate, inform, and create creative kids society by supporting high quality engaging kids content and services created, developed, and executed by talent from children at all levels and capacities and delivered across multiple platforms. Our objective is to produce the best contents for children so that they can watch and learn things that are equivalent to their age and environment, also to provide platform where children can express their feelings, show their talents, and share their dreams. Strategies. Creating contents which will attract children to watch and learn, give the opportunity to express themselves and support them, introducing different learning activities so that they can be attracted to watch, listen, and learn. Finding partners and sponsors to work together for the sustainability of the channel. Tactics. Performing different activities for children, example, kids awards, concerts, children camps, kids parliament, implement different children's TV projects. Ecosystem, political. Total Junction involve kids. There is government restrictions in working with kids. Also, there's a lot of Tanzanian content restriction in general. Economic. Money exchange rate affects high decoder fees, Western competitors with low price. Also in social, kids' working time is limited. Some parents and guardians restrict children to participate in media activities. This is all due to negative perception of social media in Africa in general. Technological. Mobile phone and internet penetration is increasing. Legal. Internet regulation, piracy, illegal copies, environmental, frequent children diseases. Also increasing pressure to be more eco-friendly. Stakeholder mapping investors. Keep satisfied. Investors, customers, major studio, relationship, distributors, guilds, these are writers and producers, staff, technology companies, which are third party, and platforms. Manage closely. Technology companies, African cultural shows, establish and endear content creators. Monitors, global data registration, tax legislation, tech publications, and tech exhibits. Keep informed. Critics, media agencies, content and technology publications. Market segmentation. Target market 1, these are watchers and viewers. Target market 2, TV series creators. Target market 3, advertisers. B2B customers. Financially constrained content creators who need to repay investors quickly. Establish the potential audience who like children content and flexibilities. Market channels and structure. APP and online websites, decoders, OTT services, DVD subscriptions. Marketing channels, Total Junction app, social medias, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Third-party collaborations for contents, intensive video ad campaigns in Google Display, YouTube. Create original children experiences. Market size. Currently, the project is running through money from company directors' pockets. Expected to grow to the revenue of $20 million in 2026. Due to cell phone penetration, growth will primarily be in the whole Africa. Current market share. Services, 50% of children content on demand market in Tanzania. Expected annual growth rate 2023, 2028, 3.0%. Our value proposition, edutainment, teach new generation African culture and maintain it, high quality products, uncovering children hidden talents. Cost structure, licensing rights, 20% of annual budget, production cost, producing original contents and TV series, Cost in marketing, B2B plus B2C, customer acquisition, content acquisition, research and development, software and algorithm development, administration costs, trainings, progress monitoring. The total project cost is estimated to $787696. Customer personas aged 0 up to 15. Global access to children content, value variety, games, stories, education, etc. Available online and offline, likely to be African culture oriented. Use social media for information, particularly Facebook and Twitter. Hang out on the internet. Value being up to date with African culture. Value relaxing and flexibility, low risk investment. Competitor analysis. Direct competitors. There are very few direct competitors, which are Ubongo Kids from Tanzania and Akili Kids from Kenya. Direct competitors, all Western channels that shows kids contents and very powerful as they have been existing for so many years. Example, Disney, etc. These are some of the logos of our competitors. Our whole business model. The problem that we are trying to solve here is children are watching others' contents which are not relevant to their age and sometimes environment, which make them learn nothing. And the solution we are trying to bring here is creating relatable contents, identifying new, creating animations where kids will also be as voiceovers. Existing alternatives, which are due to the problem existing, is watching American and European contents, example, Disney, Cartoon Network, etc. Unique value proposition, most probably the only platform in Africa that will allow African kids to show their talent, express their ideas, and share their dreams, learn from each other while maintaining and showcase African tradition and custom to the world in an entertaining manner. Unfair advantage, expertise and influential team, modern visuals, innovative training daily. Customer segments, we have customers which are companies, NGO, government, parents, and we also have users. These are direct users, which are children, and indirect users. These are parents, school teachers, guardians, and the channels are online together with offline. In online, we have social medias, podcasts, decoders, example, DSTV, websites. And offline, we have physical and partnership. Cost structure, variable cost and fixed costs. These are rent, insurance, government fees, channel fees, salaries, securities, electricity and water bills, internet, communication, content production costs, and running costs. Revenue streams, these are from sponsors, concerts, interest fees, grants, advertisement fees, from children boot camps, grants, etc. Conclusion, Toto Junction TV is an upcoming channel in Africa that will cover the gap of absence of African contents and change the paradigm in general. Financial challenge remains the biggest obstacle. If well supported with funds, grants, sponsorship, it will take Africa to the top.
Cool. I'm not sure if Yvonne is still online with us. If you are Yvonne, just turn on your camera and then we'll sort of ask you a couple of questions that have come through already. Next up, apologies for that. Next up, we have Ashley Okousa, who is the founder of Maternal Fingers, who has worked along Chuma Asuzu, but presenting will be Ashley. They are a team representing Nigeria. Welcome to the demo day stage, Ashley.
Hello, my name is Ashley Okousa, and I am the research editor and co-founder of Maternal Fingers. Globally, the maternal mortality ratio has reduced by about 38%. Despite that, Nigeria still accounts for almost 20% of the global maternal health burden. Maternal Fingers is trying to answer two questions. By 2030, Nigeria, to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, Nigeria would have needed to reduce its maternal mortality ratio by 80% in less than 10 years. The questions we're trying to answer are, one, will Nigeria meet that goal? And if it does, how will it meet that goal? If Nigeria does not meet that goal, why? The problem that we're trying to address is that there's little to no access to quality information on maternal health outcomes in Nigeria. We all read the newspaper and we see government programs that have been implemented to reduce maternal deaths or funding from international organizations like USAID or DFID, again, trying to reduce maternal deaths in Nigeria. The problem is that we don't know what the outcomes are. We don't know what happens after the funding announcements have been made and after these programs have been implemented. Do they work or do they not? In a survey for health journalists we conducted in 2019, we found 3 main issues that affect the quality of maternal health reporting. 1, no access to current and updated public health data, low funding for local reporting, and very few training resources. Our solution is Maternal Figures, a searchable interactive database of maternal health interventions funded in Nigeria over the last 30 years. Our public access database contains over 150 fact-checked, high-quality information on maternal health projects implemented in Nigeria. While our starting point is Nigeria, our current technology is scalable to other parts of the world. Our target audience includes journalists in Nigerian and international newsrooms, academic researchers and graduate students in institutions, health policy practitioners, families looking for care in their locality, and general citizens seeking government accountability. On Maternal Figures, our website, we've built an MVP where users can search over 150 interventions by location, funder, type of intervention, or stage of maternal health care. Users can see important details like funding the project has received, contact details, as well as previous journalistic reporting on this project. Users can even see which funders have funded the most amount of projects in their region. It's all searchable, it's all interactive, and it's all free. Since we launched our MVP in 2020, we've had almost 20,000 unique page views. 65% of these have come from organic search on Google and search engines. We found that users are finding our website because they're searching some of these large government programs, and we are one of the first hits because there's no other place where comprehensive access to this kind of information can be found. Users are spending about 4 minutes on our platform, which is higher than the 1.82 minute average for news sites, according to Pew. We've been referenced in 2 journal articles, and more than 10 publications have referenced our data and our resources. We really don't have direct competition. We're not a newsroom, so newsrooms aren't really our direct competition. In fact, we are aiming to work more closely with newsrooms by making our data more available to them. Our indirect competition would be considered health organizations or the government who can actually release this information and make it more accessible if they choose to. Some of the factors that might affect our operations include government policy. If they decide to change the way they make this information available to people, that could affect how we then operate. Economic factors include if the tide in terms of funding on maternal healthcare changes, if the government agencies decide to fund less maternal health programs or international agencies. Some of the other social factors are ease of the use of our platform. Even though we created this with journalists in mind and researchers in mind, we believe that anyone should be able to access this information easily. Which also brings me to the next point, internet bandwidth to load the platform. That is also something that we've taken into consideration. And the final factor is legal. When we think about, we access a lot of this information from government websites, from donor websites, and the accuracy of this information is also something that we need to keep in mind. I want to focus on 2 things here. Our unique value proposition and our competitive advantage. There is no other platform in Nigeria that offers 3 decades worth of contextual reporting and historical information about one of the country's most pressing health issues. That's where we come into play. Also, with the model that we've created, this can be applied to any other social issue anywhere else on the continent. Our timelines include we launched our MVP in 2020, and we've received a number of page views and interactions so far. We funded fellows who have continued to use our platform to produce journalism about maternal health. In 2021, we developed an open platform or an open source program, actually, where anyone can learn how to report on endemic health issues using solutions journalism. And we used our platform as an example. We joined the JAMLAB Accelerator and we added more projects to our database. We also received funding from the Pulitzer Center to continue our reporting on these maternal health programs. Our goals for this year include expanding our fact-checking, software development, and partnerships team. Our goal is to expand the fact-checking team to increase the number of programs we have in our database, expand our software team to also begin to try new models of how people interact with our website. Who are some of the other members that we're trying to reach, and what are the ways that we can create models for them to interact with our website? And also a partnerships lead in order to help us continue to create partnerships with not only newsrooms, but academic institutions and others who find the information we have on our platform useful. Also, by the end of this year, we hope to achieve 2 times our growth, develop publishing relationships with at least 3 newsrooms, and publish a white paper on the data perception among journalists in Nigeria. By 2023, we hope to expand to a different African country and to also launch a membership program for tiers of users on our site. Again, this is our team. It's a very lean team, but we work incredibly hard. I'm Ashley, like I mentioned at the beginning, I am the research editor and I work with the journalists and other newsroom partners. Chumasuzu is the product manager and he's responsible for the data research on our site and the product management of our platform. Our collaborators and partners over the last few years include the Brown Institute for Media Innovation, Solutions Journalism Network, Côte for Africa, Nigeria Health Watch, and Medan. This is our cost structure so far. A large percent of our costs go to personnel and will continue to go to personnel as we expand our team. Product development is also important, followed by administration and miscellaneous costs. Our goal is that in 5 years or even less, we will be able to grow our partnerships and then also continue to collect data from different kinds of countries on whether it's about maternal health or other topics of other social topics. By 2023, we hope to be able to answer the question that I posed at the beginning. Will Nigeria meet this goal? If yes, how will it meet this goal? And if not, why did it not meet this goal? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Chuma, join us, please. I've got a couple of questions for you guys. I will start off with this one. How do you envision your growth moving forward? Are you intending to expand to other geographies?
Yes, that's definitely something that we've considered because we see our model as something that can, one, not only be expanded to other geographies, but also expanded to other social issues. Also, we may be looking at other issues in healthcare or other social issues. But yes, we are looking, first of all, to expand our fact checking in Nigeria. So expanding a lot of the interventions that we feature in our database and then looking to expand to other countries.
And then how do you plan, or how does your platform rather help those looking for healthcare to improve their health?
So, and Chuma, please feel free to jump in here. But one thing that I have noticed is that people are able to kind of use our platform on a, because we have an interactive map where people can find, interventions based on their own location. So far, our target audience has been journalists or people looking to write about these interventions. We haven't really connected so much with people who have used our platform in order to find health interventions for themselves. I do know that people have been able to use our platform to find what is going on in their locality. Like if there's a law in their locality that makes them have access to free maternal health care, or if there's a state or government program. But in terms of local health interventions for themselves, I don't think that they've been able to use our platform to do that per se.
All right. And then how do you manage the credibility and time relevance of information you provide on your platform?
I think that is probably the most intensive part of the work we do, which is why that's the most resource intensive part of the work we do, which is fact checking the interventions that are on our database and, making sure to go through and update them. As we know, since we launched in 2020, some laws have changed, some programs have ended. So that's kind of a continuous thing that we do. And that's one of the reasons why we need to expand our team. But in the beginning, we did create a methodology for what interventions we're putting on our platform. In our methodology, we noted that not everything that's relating to maternal health is an intervention. It has to meet certain criteria. So is it a law? Is it, a targeted investment into solving a particular problem? Have we seen investment from government agencies or donor agencies? So I think we did that in the beginning by creating this criteria for what counts as an intervention for us. And then I guess what we look to do in the future is just check that things have changed and make sure that we keep our database updated.
Yeah, and then 2 last questions, similar, but looking at different ends. What do you see, or what do you foresee rather, as the biggest opportunities in the marketplace in future?
The biggest opportunity in the marketplace in the future. I have to think about that one. I would say that it would probably be, and when you say marketplace, do you mean health journalism marketplace or just in general?
Let's stick to the health marketplace.
Well, I guess maybe for health journalists, I would say probably just access to information and being able to kind of produce investigative stories about, some of these interventions. I think that there is an opportunity to do that, but there needs to be investment into resources to make that happen. In our presentation earlier in our presentation, we talked about doing a survey and talking to journalists about what are some of the challenges they face when it comes to reporting on some of these issues. It was access to information, access to resources. So I think in order to, create opportunity, we have to kind of make sure that we address those problems and making sure that there's access to information, access to resources, so journalists can produce the kind of stories that they want to.
And then last question, how do you monetize the database, or how will you be able to remain sustainable?
Yeah, that's kind of one thing that we're still thinking about, and we thought a lot about during the JAMLAB program. One of the things that we realized is that we have different users of the database. We have journalists, we have researchers, we have health policy experts, we have different people. So I think trying to figure out trying to create a subscription model that's different for our different user bases and kind of giving them access to the information on our database. In addition to the interventions we also have a treasure trove of documents, whether it's policy documents or, government documents, and maybe that's something that we can kind of monetize access to. So that's something that we're thinking about, kind of creating different subscription models for our different users, because they all have different needs and they all access our database in different ways.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was brilliant. Without wasting further time, next up is Sui Kahofi, who is the founder of Urban Today, a team representing Côte d'Ivoire. Welcome to the Demo Day stage, Sui.
Ivory Coast is a country where political parties and political leaders are the ones who own and control the media. Over the 2 decades, political stories remain the main content produced by most of the news outlets. Only few media and newspapers work really on different topics related to social issues. Finally, this political content creates a lack of trust between the media and the public. Newspaper sales and advertiser revenue dropped, creating a severe economic crisis within the media, pushing most of them to close. Customers in Ivory Coast are now looking for new content, but how to engage this audience? The solution is innovative journalism, and that is the reason why Urban Today came on the picture since 2016. The mission of this media is to produce free information from any political and economic influence using formats like fact-checking, solution journalism, and data journalism to engage the audience. Since 2016, Urban Today produced more than 2,000 stories, and the website traffic is 3.5K visits per week, and the project is supported by different partners through various grants and a training program. Urban Today wants to give the public new content in order to engage the audience, fight against fake news, and build a new social contract with the public by promoting innovative journalism. The project expects to grow this market size to 5K unique visits per week and targeting a younger audience. The revenue model and the sustainability of Urban Today is based on paid training activities, local consultancies, and international grants. Paid training activities represent 60% of the stream, local consultancies 10%, and international grants at least 30%. Innovative journalism is the key objective of this project. And this project was in the past a self-funded media with a budget of $8,000 per year, actually funded by the journalism taking and supporting the project from the beginning. But we are planning now to raise a minimum of $15,000 per year via different activities like high value training offers for local NGOs, projects and program in link with donors, partners, priorities in Ivory Coast, but also new projects and program involving journalists and NGO from different backgrounds. 16% of our year budgets will come from paid activities like training and consultancies. The 40 remaining will be resources from new projects, grants, program with international NGOs and donors. Journalists Union and local fact-checking organizations remain our key competitors, and that is the reason why Ebony today is planning to work with strong industry partners to reach its goal. Journalists Union and local fact-checking organizations remain our key competitors, and that is the reason why Ebony today is planning to work with strong industry partners to reach its goal. EDF, Initiative for Community Development and Forest Conservation, mainly on environmental projects. Ivorian Human Rights Observatory, OIDH, mainly for human rights projects. Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom of Expression project, Observateur Citoyen for the media project, and the Center for Communication Studies and Research on media for media training project. Innovating journalism based on a team of journalists and project managers is the only way for media to build a new partnership with the public. Ebony today is working to use new formats like solution journalism, fact-checking, and data journalism to produce a new content to engage the public with the support of independent organizations and emerging newsroom. Ebony today is waiting for your support, and we hope to see you become the next partner of our project.
Let's move on to the next and final presentation for today. And if Sweet does come back online, I would like to pick up thereafter. Next up is Wale Lawal, who is the founder of the Republic, a team representing Nigeria. Welcome to the demo day stage, Wale.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Wale Lawal, and I'm a former KPMG management consultant and Harvard researcher, now working on my own startup, The Republic. Digital media has what we call an Africa problem, and what drives this problem is a vicious cycle. Millions of Africa-curious news consumers are underserved, but there's no single digital media platform that can be relied on for authoritative, personalized coverage of all Africa's 54 countries. Presently, local journalists across Africa are struggling due to a lack of skills and support to reach global online audiences. And foreign press dominates online media coverage in Africa, but has limited interest and limited presence on the continent, leading to the narrow Africa coverage we've come to know and endure online. In other words, this industry is ripe for disruption. But before going any further, I want to share a bit of personal context, so my background and personal history with digital media's Africa problem. I studied technology and African politics at Oxford University. I graduated top of my class, and over the last 10 years, I've worked with and advised African governments, as well as some of the biggest institutions around the world, from the UN to Harvard professors to editors at the top global newsrooms. Across all these experiences, the big elephant in the room has been that Africa is a very challenging region to understand. It's not necessarily the continent's fault. We've just inherited very terrible approaches for understanding the continent. Journalists, researchers, academics, and even locals across the continent all approach Africa more like the image on the left. So basically, a lot of guessing and abstracting, when in reality, the continent is incredibly dynamic and more like the image on the right. To summarize, we're basically in a digital era. We're getting the news much faster than we've ever done before. Africa has never been properly represented in the media, and the shallow representation of Africa is even worse on the internet. At The Republic, our solution is simple. We promote more compelling Africa-focused journalism by helping local African freelancers reach a global audience. Our core product is a digital subscription media platform that provides unrivaled smart journalism focused on Africa, starting with political and social issues. Why these issues? Because it's a low-hanging fruit for us. There's a huge demand for engaging local coverage of political and social issues across Africa. And these are areas our team is already highly influential in. I started The Republic in 2018 as a student journal at Oxford, and The Republic has now won numerous media awards, reaches over 60,000 readers daily, including the Office of Nigeria's President, and we have advised global newsrooms like Reuters and The Economist. In this time, we've also built a network of over 300 quality freelancers spread across the continent and the diaspora. Right now, to understand what's happening on the continent, readers go through a chaotic process similar to the left. What we're offering is captured on the right, a seamless process. We work with local freelancers across the continent and provide them the tools and resources they need to produce world-class journalism, and our readers can stay informed just by clicking the button, subscribe. According to the UN, by 2050, 1 in every 4 people in the world will be African. This amounts to over 2.2 billion people. The growing significance of Africa cannot be overstated. And that's why at the Republic, we genuinely believe that the way to unlock our continent is to make understanding Africa the easiest thing you can do on the internet. While we're starting with Nigeria, our larger vision is to develop the infrastructure, and so that's the software, distribution, and financing that is required to power the future of Africa's digital media landscape. And this is $1 billion opportunity. Africa has over 300 million middle income and higher earners. Nigeria alone has 52 million. And so at a minimum of $49.99 in individual annual subscriber revenue, our addressable market in Africa is over $16 billion and over $2 billion in Nigeria alone. Our business model is subscriptions-led, and by 2026, we're going to make $180 million in year-end revenue through mostly subscriptions from individuals paying roughly $90 on average per annum in annual subscriptions, and organizations paying roughly $3,000 per annum in annual corporate subscriptions. We will acquire 1 million paying subscribers across Africa and the diaspora by 2026, mainly through strategic partnerships. We will license teaser content to large-scale distributors such as universities, government bodies, mobile network companies, and entertainment platforms, and then tap into their user bases. So MTN, for example, is Nigeria's largest mobile network provider and has over 74 million phone subscribers in Nigeria alone. And so just reaching 1% of that subscriber base through MTN could really bring us close to our target. And just this year, UCLA and Berkeley took out corporate subscriptions with us, and working closely with these universities can actually give us access to a network of over 200,000 students. Although we're currently generating revenue, we think of ourselves as being in a testing phase. We only started testing subscriptions in 2019, and last year we reached over 3,000 subscribers. We generated an average of $4,500 in monthly revenue compared to $2,500 in monthly revenue as of 2020. Current alternatives in the market typically fall under 4 categories. So you have the digital-led local media like Premium Times and The Guardian, foreign press like Africa's a Country and The Economist, engagement-led media like social media platforms such as Twitter, and tabloid blogs like Linda AKG, and then you also have the academic publishers. What makes us stand out in the market is how we turn the weaknesses of these alternatives into our strengths. We offer much higher domain expertise and user experience than local press, and we provide deeper and more consistent coverage than foreign press. And so overall, we provide depth, but without the stiffness you typically find in serious reporting about Africa. And this is some of the feedback that we've received. Readers come to the Republic because we're serious, but our branding is very cool and it's very stylish, and there's a huge emphasis on audience experience. And so our readers trust, respect, and feel validated by our work. Our journalism is a product that they always want to be associated with. Our team is highly influential in the digital media space. We're completely virtual and have over 30 years in combined business and digital media experience, which means we have a comprehensive understanding of the core issues that we're solving. We have 3 full-time staff, 10 part-time staff, and 2 editors, and we're primarily, and 2 advisors, and we're primarily editors on the team. For example, my teammate Chika, our senior editor, works with freelancers and has been in journalism for nearly 2 decades. She's an award-winning journalist and has worked with the top global newsrooms such as the BBC and the New York Times. In fact, at the height of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria, Chika was one of a handful of journalists that were able to report directly from the terrorist group's hotspots. And overall, our combination of deep local knowledge and international expertise means we're not an easy team to replicate, and it makes us really positioned to succeed in this market even more so than top global newsrooms. We're currently pre-seed fundraising, and our ask is $500,000. We've already raised $130,000, including $100,000 from the Media Development Investment Fund, and we want to acquire 20,000 paying subscribers by our next funding round in 2023. Our pre-seed funding will therefore go into building out our tech and sales teams and to capturing more of the Nigerian market, Lagos in particular. As I wrap up, I'd like to emphasize what it is that we see in this market that may not be immediately obvious. What excites us about the Republic is that we have successfully built a decentralized media company that relies exclusively on freelancers in one of the toughest environments for both freelancing and journalism. What many newsrooms on the continent often overlook is that with more newsrooms becoming digital, the inevitable challenge we must overcome is the local scarcity of digital skills. It is why building the largest community of quality African freelance journalists is one of our founding objectives at the Republic. And we're equally excited about this because of the prospect to further support African journalists and newsrooms by providing the tools and resources they need to solve additional challenges. Over 300 African journalists work with us today because they trust us. We have a deep understanding of their pain points and recognize the serious opportunity to revolutionize African journalism through verticals like software, training, legal services, insurance, and even financing. It is exciting because our community continually provides us a clear roadmap for democratizing digital media and unlocking our continent. It starts with storytelling, but there's so much more ahead. And so we hope you join us on this journey. Thank you for listening.
Awesome stuff. That was Wale. Wow. Wale, I've got a couple of questions for you. The first one in two parts. What are the three features of your business that makes your value proposition resilient to global and local challenges in the marketplace? And how does that inform your growth strategy moving forward?
All right, thank you so much. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. So I'll take, I think the question was, what are the three things that really make us resilient against local and global challenges? So I think the first thing I'd say is, let's even just break down what those key challenges are. I think the first one, like I said, in the video is skills, right? And I think the main thing for us about, and I'll take each challenge and what I think makes us resilient. The first one is skills, digital skills in particular. And I think that the thing that really makes us resilient in that space is our ability to collaborate. So we've been able to really build, like I mentioned, this network of over 300 freelancers. It's a growing base. To be honest, the plan is to have that number reach thousands over the next couple of years. But how it typically works is that we have a core group of editors who are really experienced in their fields, and we leverage a lot of virtual technologies. A lot of this is happening remotely with editors and reporters or freelancers or essayists collaborating to ensure that they're able to reach global standards in publishing. And this applies to text, it applies to photography, it also could possibly apply to video and other verticals as we see going forward. So that, that ability to collaborate remotely helped us be able to manage skills, the skills challenge. Then the second challenge, I think, is financing. I think there's always a big question around funding and around, how you can build how you can get sustainable revenue. I think the way that we've been able to solve that is by being a very clear, mission-oriented publication. I think a lot of the people who subscribe to the Republic subscribe to us because they feel that they're making a difference in their communities. It's this idea that, I'm a busy person, but I have vested interests in my country. I may not be able to, push for reproductive rights, so I may not be able to push for, for whether it's gay rights or whether it's even just broadly human rights or migration rights on an active basis. But I can empower a journalist to cover these issues that I'm interested in on a consistent basis through a subscription to the Republic. So just having that clear and consistent mission across board in what we're doing has been able to resonate with audiences and allowed us to be able to get them to pay for a lot of these, for a lot of our content. But of course, there's also room that we see for additional opportunities to grow our revenue base through things like advertising, which is increasingly becoming an area that we're looking at. I think now we are finally at a point where we're reaching the amount of people that can allow us to start speaking to potential advertising, advertisers. And the reason why advertising is also interesting for us is that we're able to escape what I think is the third challenge, which is media capture, because we're able to offer a diversified funding base, which ensures that we're not necessarily cornered into a war, whether it's by big corporates or by governments. So the biggest ad buyers, as was said earlier, are governments in this part of the world, but being able to have that kind of diverse revenue base has also allowed us to be able to escape, some of those issues that we see coming up down the line.
Awesome. Closely related to that is How is your cost structure, especially around growing the number of freelancers?
That's a good question. So right now, actually, our cost structure is very low, and we're an asset-light team. A lot of what we're doing is pretty much online. And so most of our costs actually goes into the software that we need to conduct a lot of our business, and then also goes into editorial. So working with freelancers as well. But the freelancing structure is it's quite a complicated structure in the sense that, first-time freelancers with the Republic typically are people who we will work with directly. And so, tend to volunteer that content as a way of getting that training or a way of getting that experience with us. And then over time, we then step them up into the kinds of, into payment plans that can range anywhere from $50 an article to $200 an article. In terms of how, that has fed into our cost structure right now, we basically have a burn rate of just around $2,000, but we see that, of course, increasing over time. But again, because of the way that our business is structured, those will always, I think editorial or what we call product costs will always be front and center for us. But these are costs that we can always manage because we're not necessarily having, an excess of full-time editorial staff. I think having that freelancing model has really allowed us to spread those costs as well.
Cool. And then who would you say is your primary target audience? How are you able to convince especially African audiences that content is a commodity or a product and not something they should be getting for free and therefore don't need to subscribe to a media service?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. I think our main primary audience are higher income earning. So it's middle income to higher income earning consumers. So like I mentioned earlier, Africa has 300 million of these people spread across the continent and the diaspora. And I think the strategy for engaging both groups, so whether it's continent-based and diaspora, tends to be quite different. But they do share some similarities in the sense that they're very international people. They're exposed to multiple, they're exposed to multiple publications. But they're people that I've often seen that, okay, there's an Economist, there's a Le Monde, there's a Der Spiegel, there's a New Yorker, but there's not really, or there's The Atlantic, but there's not really something that's giving us, in-depth coverage of what we need from our own continents as well. So there's a demand on that front. But I think what ends up getting them convinced, especially for those who are in the continent, is this idea of being a mission-oriented publication. So a publication whereby your subscription isn't necessarily just a payment, but it's a way of holding governments accountable. So one thing that these groups share in common, again, is that there is an increase in demand to hold governments accountable. And accountability doesn't necessarily always mean protest. It could also just mean creating spaces for journalists to keep up with what's happening and to, find interesting ways of keeping people up to date with what's going on, and often just advocates for social change and cultural change. And I think that being able to communicate those, those objectives, and we've worked extensively with, schools, universities, corporates, being able to capture, that young professional group as they enter the workforce has been a very, very instrumental, approach for us in doing this. Because what that means is that when people leave universities or when they go into their workplaces, they already belong to this community of people who, actually believe and are actually making a difference in their community. So I think at the core of that is being mission oriented, but also being very specific in the types of groups that we're currently able to target, which are high income earning or middle income earning Africans across and beyond the continent.
Awesome. One final question for you, Wale. How do you test your new content to grow your audience or users? And how long did it take you to get it right, if you've gotten it right?
That's a fantastic question. I don't think you can ever get it right. And I think that's the beauty of that. But I think in terms of testing the content, we have what we call like a feedback mechanism that starts with how we source the content to the kind of like audience engagement that we do when the content is published. And so we use social media heavily for this. We use virtual events and also are looking into now that, the pandemic has kind of, there's a kind of, I think we're now opening spaces since the pandemic. I think the pandemic had disrupted physical events, but those are coming back now. And so we're looking at physical events as a way of engaging more with our audience. But at the moment, we're heavily using online resources. We send out surveys to subscribers, especially through our newsletters, just asking them questions about the content that they enjoy this week. You'd also see it on our Instagram story. So it's very heavy on a digital strategy. So there's a huge social media component of it, and then there's also a newsletter component of it. And so what ends up happening is we engage our audience on that front. We take their feedback if they liked the article, if they didn't like the article, if they had questions that that were inspired by a particular article, and then we go back to our network of freelancers or our editors and say, hey, there's people interested in things like this. How can we get more content around, around this space? And we've tested multiple kinds of content. Some have done well, some have not done well. And I think that the main thing that we've learned that we've now incorporated into like how we publish is the fact that just because something is important to people doesn't mean they will find it interesting. So people want to know about protests. They want to know about, what governments are up to. They even just want like regular information about the political landscape. But what we've also learned over time is that it's not just about presenting that information to them. We have to think about, okay, how do we get the best writer to work on this? Or how do we get really cool photography or data visualization that we can pair with this? Because we've also seen that even when audiences tell you that something is important to them, if it isn't engaging, if it's not interesting, if it isn't cool, if it isn't stylish, then it burns out really quickly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wale, for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. 5 teams with new ideas that will bring new conversations to the fore. I'm really excited about what the future holds for all these startups. I hope you've had a great time this afternoon, and you'll be contacting some and all of these teams with partnership opportunities, with funding opportunities to help them grow and cement their place within the independent media marketplace. Once again, I'd like to acknowledge the support of funders and partners, the Swedish International Development Agency, CEDA, through the CHARM project for their journalist support, Open Societies Foundation's program on independent journalism, ABSA Bank, Wits Center for Journalism, and of course, Wits University. Remember that if you need to speak to any of the teams, do drop us an email at info@jamlab.africa. That's it, and until the next JAMLAB Demo Day, goodbye and God bless.